Dragon Ball is one of the most popular manga and anime series in history. It is one of the only franchises which has managed to attain an international level of success, head and shoulders above most Japanese anime. For years, the Dragon Ball manga series, illustrated and written by Akira Toriyama, was the highest selling manga of all time at over 230 million units before being surpassed by One Piece and Golgo 13. That manga has spawned 5 anime spin-offs, 20 theatrical motion pictures, over 500 TV episodes, and has literally countless video games selling upwards of 37 million units. It has influenced pop culture, video games, television, and everything in between. Its merchandise sales have been astronomical and has become culturally ingrained in territories worldwide. Even years after the final TV series Dragon Ball GT ended its original run in 1997, video games were spawned and released and played by the masses. But why? I mean, let's be honest, when you dissect the series, there are problems both with the manga and the anime. There's inconsistencies, animation flubs, the art is relatively simple, and the story isn't too thought-provoking at all. Nothing is perfect, of course, but why is Dragon Ball so damn popular? Well, let's talk about it on the 25th edition of Dragon Ball In Depth, as we all celebrate 30 years of Dragon Ball on TV.
この放送はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Dragon Ball is more than just a massive franchise. Dragon Ball elevated Japanese animation to a new stratosphere in North America. In Latin America, Dragon Ball and Saint Seiya became staples of the culture, with rumored stories of people calling out of work to watch the end of the Cell game. Dragon Ball is so massive in Latin America that unlike North America, they got a full 8-week theatrical run for Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. But why? First of all, let's take into account that people love animation, regardless of what country it's from. Japanese animation existed on television far before the mid-90s anime boom, but most of us as kids back then had no idea. Companies such as Harmony Gold and Saban were notorious for taking Japanese TV shows and renaming them, re-editing them, Americanizing them, and in some ways, butchering them. When companies began to embrace Japanese animation for what it was in the mid-90s, it was promoted as edgy, more adult, and not your everyday cartoon. Titles like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Vampire Hunter D gained newfound fame during this VHS era, but it wasn't until the late 90s when television embraced anime with Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and Pokemon, and a few others too. Although Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon existed on syndication for years, it wasn't until the Toonami block began that they really took off. Toonami was a perfect way to promote the series because it was after school on cable TV every single weekday. You didn't have to check your local listings to find it anymore, or wake up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning when all you want to do is sleep from staying up late on Saturday night. It was right there on Toonami. The reality is that although he's not the best writer in history by a long shot, part of the brilliance of creator Akira Toriyama's vision for Dragon Ball is that it is, in many ways, not defined by its cultural roots. Toriyama's art style and the characters that he creates are unbelievably unique and vastly different from his contemporaries. Unlike other anime and manga, Dragon Ball is not so inherently Japanese that it is off-putting to a Western audience, and I do believe that there's a subconscious familiarity when watching Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball pulls from Chinese mythology, but only initially. Set in a fantasy world that is not Japan, featuring scenery and architecture that is both Eastern and Western, as well as characters looking distinct and multicultural. Part of the absolute brilliance of Dragon Ball is its simplicity. The archetypes make sense, The story is very easy to understand regardless of your race, creed, gender, or background. Dragon Ball speaks to people on multiple levels regardless of their nationality and breaks through cultural barriers because it has character beats and character moments that we can all relate to. We've all lost someone, felt lonely, felt motivated, wanted to reach newer and greater heights in our lives, and the characters within this series, although fictional, can bring out the best in us as people. Dragon Ball was one of the first shows to provide serialized storytelling in the United States, where every episode leads into another and there are long arcs, which has taken off massively in recent years with Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, and others. You had to wait either a day or a week to find out what happened to your favorite characters, and when the seasons would end, months. Dragon Ball is a playful and fun series, which manages to balance a wide variety of humor like slapstick, perverted jokes, and puns mixed with the same action-packed superhero adventures that Western audiences already had ingrained in their psyche. Toriyama created a series that manages to be both colorful and lighthearted despite creating a genuine sense of dread when it came to its villains and bad situations. While Toriyama does deserve credit, you can't forget about the work of the incredible voice actors and music composers that helped get the story across in the TV adaptation. Even though Fist of the North Star popularized the martial arts shonen fun, it was Dragon Ball that would bring in place the archetypes of the motivated protagonist, train, fight, train, big spiky hair, long power-ups, transformations, fusions, dinosaurs, spaceships, and science fiction and aliens, all in one series. Talk about a formula for success. Dragon Ball has multiple themes explored throughout the series. The idea of fathers and sons and their relations, good versus evil, pride versus humility, acceptance versus the drive to succeed, pushing past one's own limitations, and an internal struggle to do the right thing despite temptations are things that real people can feel, regardless of the language they speak. Key moments in the series where characters are victorious, when they succeed, when they fail, all matter, and thus Dragon Ball speaks to all of our souls. So why is Dragon Ball so damn popular? Because it gives you everything. No story is perfect and we could pick apart the flaws all day, but at the end of the day, all that matters is how we feel, and Dragon Ball made us all feel good. It doesn't matter if you watched it after school on Toonami, or if you traded tapes, or read the manga, or if you got into it through the video games, or if you got into it through Kai. Dragon Ball brings people together from all walks of life and all ages. And the reality is, it was a lot of people's first anime, and you never forget your first. Today, we come together to celebrate the greatness that is Dragon Ball, and has been for over 30 years, and we hope it'll continue to be great for the next 30. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting Geekdom 101 for 1 year now. I am extraordinarily grateful for the love and support you've given me since day one, and I promise you the best is yet to come.